Representative Ryan.
As you look at this particular resolution, it's really about illegal immigration, but more importantly, it's about a concept of a nation. Do we have a nation in which there's a process to deal with situations in which we're not happy? That's done through the legislative process that you're seeing here today. If a municipality decides to disobey the MS4 regulations, the federal government will enact stringent and rapid and swift retaliation against that community with fines. And they're paying those fees. The citizens of that community are paying it all the time. As a CPA, if there's a regulation that I'm not happy about and I decide not to honor it, I will get a lien by the Internal Revenue Service most quickly without any necessarily opportunity to say I'm not really happy with it, whether or not I believe it's a good bill or not. The Affordable Care Act had a process where it was ruled after much litigation that it was a tax, and that process was done appropriately. People went through the litigation. It was deemed to be legal, but it was deemed to be a tax, and so now people are paying it. Property taxes in my community, I may not necessarily be happy about the rate that they've gone up, but when they go up, a lien's put on my property if I decide not to pay it, if my home becomes a sanctuary home. A building permit, God help you if you undertake a building project and don't get permission from your municipality or whatever before. If I travel to Mexico, if I were to go into the country and not register first and pay the $20 entrance fee, I pray to God I don't get caught on my way out. In the nation of Qatar, when I traveled there in the Marines, if you don't have your appropriate documentation stamped, you're looking at a $100 fine per day. After 2 weeks, you're looking at imprisonment. This is about exploiting people. When I hear about working in farms and working in other areas, I came from a very poor family. And we would be lying to ourselves if we didn't think illegal immigrants are not being exploited for that particular purpose. This bill is saying to the community, we're not interested in sanctioning anything that perhaps exploits those who are vulnerable. Let's create an opportunity through reform of legal litigation using the system that was established when our government was founded. We have 3 branches of government: the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. We're a deliberative body. It's moving a little bit slower in some cases than I expected. In some cases in business, we would move more quickly. In education, probably more quickly. In our homes, we definitely move more quickly. But there's a process. As Chairman Bradford mentioned, there would be lawsuits that have been filed by a number of areas about President Trump's executive order, and that's the process. That's the way it works. To deliberately sit back and take examples and say, well, I've chosen not to pass this law, is probably not the best way as an example of what we're setting as a civics lesson to everyone else. Communities and governments need to be held as accountable to the citizens as citizens are to the government. I thought for some reason government was here to serve us as citizens and not the other way around. I thought that's what my time in the Marine Corps was all about. This bill is a common sense measure. It doesn't say that we're against illegal. My grandparents were immigrants. Many of us here were immigrants. And I think everyone's got the right intention, but we've got to be cautious because it is a complex issue about unintended consequences, such as when a municipality decides I'm going to favor this law and not favor that law. The absolute utter chaos that occurs when we don't put a stop to that quickly and put teeth in it. This bill is merely putting a set of teeth in a law that already exists and gives the Commonwealth the opportunity to say, let's continue to stay within the process that we've got established through our Constitution, rather than have some people decide, I'm going to favor this law or I'm not, with the consequences only held accountable by the citizens and not by the very government we created to protect us.